it or discharge it on their books, but the lien is placed upon and against you in your name. And this is how they really misuse the Social Security number, the driver's license, the birth certificate, and the marriage license. Of course, you know the marriage licenses come under Article 39 of police powers. I repeat, marriage licenses come under Article 39 of police powers. It has nothing to do with divine anything. And that's the system of controlling the womb without you getting offended. In other words, the state, quote unquote, corporate state, plays the pimp. And that way they control the issue, quote unquote, under quote unquote wardship, WARDSHIP. And you are not fighting it because you think slavery is over. But you just signed a contract. And of course, you know how to qualify that or how to reserve your rights. And this is for most of the people who have been studying contract law, etc. And so slavery is Slovakian. Understand that when you use the word slavery, that it is Slovakian. And that is when the Red Russians went into Czechoslovakia and forced servitude on them, or the Slavic nations or Slavic tribes. And slave actually means Slovakian. It does not mean you. And when you say that you are a slave, or you are arguing issues in reparations and you say slave, you have already taken yourself out of the jurisdiction and it's not going to work. And they know that you're not Slovakians, you are Moors. But they put the connotative on the word slave, as if it is a noun describing the condition of forced servitude. And that is connotative, but it is actually a nationality. And these are tricks, and you must change your language. Unity is national. The unity that is necessary for you to begin fixing this thing is called nationalization, politically. We are not talking about your beliefs or how you feel or your emotions and where you are at. It is happening. And we are talking about the actual factual law, universal. And you cannot become who your mothers and fathers were. You can only declare it. You cannot become more. You can only become Moorish, or you always were and always will be, whether you claim it or whether you do not. And one of the problems is many people have this information and keep presenting this information from a perspective of a belief, and people don't know that it has all to do with their pedigree, their bloodline, their birthright, their political rights on this planet. And it has nothing to do with whether you believe in a God or not. Therefore, their concepts on how to look at this thing is totally wrong. And it does not mean that you are moral or immoral. It means that you must understand that it is being said, what is being said to you. And when Noble Drew Ali, our illustrious prophet, came here and declared that you are a nation, he was dealing with law and he was dealing with heads of government. He was the first representative in modern times to represent the descendants of the ancient Moabites in their proper person status, which was necessary to make a stand at law before the nations of the earth. Outside of that, it is, if it is a Negro, black, or colored argument, it is just a movement. It is just a complaint. It is a program. Because there is no such people that live on this planet. Therefore, there are no laws to govern them except for programs and whatever has jurisdiction over that chattel chose to be president, i.e., that is where the 14th and 15th Amendments came in political operations at North America. We can go further, but as an introductory, that's some of the lecture that I gave around the corner in 2003, and much of those dynamics have manifested themselves with the people to this day, and many people around the country and outside of the land have become conscious of their nationality and become more active, comprehending that the bloodline and pedigree of the Moors of North America has often been falsely misrepresented as a religious belief system when it is in fact their pedigree, etc. And to solve problems, what we cannot afford to do is to continue to look at things from an emotional perspective, but actually do some research and comprehend what's actually been going on here at North America. And so keep in mind, even when people are making reference to what is known politically in the congressional records and also in federal papers with the infiltration into the Moorish Divine and National Movement, you'll find the phrase often spoken of as the so-called the great sellout that no one talks about in detail. And I say to you, the great sellout has much to do with the schismata operations set forth via three-letter agencies that were used to infiltrate all organizations or any activities of all our Aboriginal people to literally commit murder, assassinations, distortions, misinformation, and other corruptions of information by deletion, by corruption, or by alterations to create, to sustain, and to maintain and manage schism operations at North America. And thus, this is why we are presenting tonight. Be aware of and reject U.S. schism operations. And by you knowing some things about of what they've been doing, that would give you intellectual capacities to intelligently make decisions to reject schism operations. But keep in mind, even when you see a lot of the quote-unquote divisions amongst Moorish groups, 90% of that divisions come from the early or late 20s and to the mid-30s with the infiltrations of all Asiatic African organizations by the hybrid Europeans disguised as government to create those schisms, etc. So keep in mind the schisms are not just a natural activity of the people, but they're actually political war psychic attacks. So be aware of them and start rejecting them. Was there some questions?
I'm just looking at comments, a lot of which I know I would like to present a question just from my own observation, because as you know, the events over the last couple of weeks with the rise of the Moors, with the rise of the Moors has caused a lot of even more division and schism about who the Moors are, or who should be doing what, or who is to blame. Namely, I've heard a lot of and seen comments where folk want to go so far as to blame you, who was, here in this territory when that thing went off. And there's a tendency for many to look for one individual to be able to solve all of the ills and the problems that we are facing. And I want to know, are you putting yourself out as our savior?
Never has been that. What I've done is shared research information with people. And again, part of schism operations, and if you even look at some of the concepts that for people who have been trying to create those schisms, one of the practices is to blame the victim or blame the truth teller. Now, if you'll notice that 90% of the time when people make such statements like that, they will never give you what you would call a truth statement and then claim what I said is a lie. Meaning that If I told the people that 1 and 1 is 8, and they acted on that and created some problems, then some of those criticisms would be justified. But to tell the people the truth that they're not Negro, Black, or colored, and that they're Moors, and that this is their land, that they're the Aboriginal people, and they act on it is not an injury to the people, but simply a revelation of truth. However, at the same time, it creates problems for people, the hybrid Europeans who've been faking as government and faking as Americans. And it also creates problems for Asiatic Africans who hate Asiatic Africans and who are indeed themselves sellouts, many of who have or belong to organizations that it can be found, in fact, are Boule. It can be found and, in fact, are 501c3 skull and bones receivers to maintain the Christian Black codes, which is why they keep promoting Black, Negro, and colored in their organizations, etc., to create divisions. So logically, such persons and such beings would be upset with anybody, not just me, or anyone who would reveal any truths that would expose them. Because what you'll recognize, a lot of the schism is not just from the hybrid Europeans in government, but many people among ourselves. And so that's called, in political operations, projection. And this is where people who have created schism operations themselves projected on others who have been countering schism operations.
There is a sister, Moabitess, who's been on here for ever since I've been doing at least the lives. I noticed when I was doing office hours, and she's been a part of it. And she seems to, when I just asked the question, she said I made a great point that if you're not the savior, because that's what I asked, then why are you calling? You should stop calling yourself a grand sheik. There are many grand sheiks out there because her baby.
All over the place.
Let me finish if you don't mind. Her baby, and you've heard, but I haven't given you any great details, but you kind of know about it, you know, from a standpoint of us having some discussion. There are many people or like her with many issues, and I mean each person's issue is their own, but I have to put it out there. You are not the savior of everyone, and I saw somebody else put out there that you're giving out you're putting out information, and we have to seek remedy. But you are not sitting. You're not writing writs for people. You're not. No.
People must bear their own cross. That's number one, and number two, the call for our people in consciousness is for us to recognize that we all play a part in the liberation of our people. There shall be no sacrificial lambs. And so when people are even mentioning this whole idea about savior, their concepts are wrong and concept is corrupted. And the deal of it is, if most of our people would not have been continuously among themselves promoting the Black codes upon themselves by claiming to be Blacks and Negroes, etc., and rejecting, which is what our subject matter is, the schism operations, many of the problems that we have would have been solved a long time ago to some degree. The other deal of it is many people, rather than charge the commissioner or those who commit the crime, i.e. hybrid Europeans, who have been under the guise of government stealing people's children and actually doing human trafficking for centuries. This is not new at North America. And when we talk about North America, we're talking about Canada. Now, so if you'll notice that when people bring up these issues and start bringing up issues for remedy and constitutional enforcement and treaty enforcement and principle applications, rather than them admit or talk about the priesthood and the churches who have been raping, murdering, or sacrificing children for centuries. There's probably no old church at North America, and that includes Canada, that doesn't have hundreds and even thousands of bodies of children that they have been robbing for centuries. And this is what she should be talking about.
I mean, I realize that in this particular case, you know, is specifically, you know, it's your issue is your issue. So you there are other people, but it becomes personal. I think the point I want to make, because I'm going to say this, and I know she hears me. I think it's totally unfair for her to use this platform to It's one to share, that's good, but to use it to blast a person like you, I'm gonna call you a person, to blast you and call you fakes and you're not this because specifically that particular problem has not been worked out. There are a lot of people that you have helped. There are a lot of people who are right on this call, on this live, that can attest to the fact that, and you never spoke with them personally, but they took the information that you provided and they studied themselves and they were able to apply it and assist it. But I understand pain, but I think when you start to talk about schism, that this conversation is part of the schism because we can't get anywhere if we, if I'm gonna just get angry with you because you didn't help me, doesn't mean you didn't help 99 because that it could be helped. So let's not knock somebody.
Is what the other thing that many people will complain should be doing is what have they done?
Well, I'm pretty sure she's done a lot of things, but here's what I want you to address: the fact that even though what you are telling us is true, we are under occupation, and now, because because we're under occupation, even the true things are being attacked as if they're not true. So I have literally spoken with people who have gotten their children back by declaring them as property. I even shared that information with my sister. Yeah. But I don't know specifically how to do the paperwork per se, but when I found out about it, I shared it.
You know what it's like? This is back to what I've said for many years. If our people would sincerely put as much effort into the restoration of their birthright as they've been doing in their club religions, etc., much of what they're complaining about would have been resolved by themselves and people around them that they have been funding and supporting in the name of whatever God games they have been playing, etc., and have not produced anything but made the people poorer, including the fact that even the nations of the earth, as we talked about for years, even in 1960, deal with what is known as the Committee of 24, talking about decolonization. And North America is one of the major places that they talked about. But instead of our people dealing with national principles, as Noble Drew said, since 1913, they've been going around marching and praying and then wanting other results and then getting mad at other people for not doing the work that they themselves should have been doing. Let's look at this also, Dr. Naila. How many people has it been known that would stand up and tell the truth in opposition and taking the beating even from people who could benefit from this information rather than them attacking or addressing the people that are doing the injury? Now, for the public, I'll say this. I did not influence and I did not take part in taking her baby. That was some hybrid Europeans who she's not addressing. And she wants to accuse me or someone else of taking her baby.
No, not taking, but not getting her back.
If you didn't restore, the one who's the restorer is the one who did the deed. Let's be clear. In other words, if I didn't take your sandwich, don't argue that I didn't feed you. That's number one. The real deal is, for years, we've been telling the people about status. We can tell people about the black codes. And if they say that that's wrong, that's their choice to do. However, those are the issues that have been going on. Our people have been spending their time, their energy, their finance, supporting people who've been promoting the black codes, getting the black codes enforced on them, then getting mad at others who've been exposing it. Now, the deal of it is the rule that it is in African culture is this. Every man, every woman, and every child must confess their own and worship under their own vine and fig tree. And if she had been operating under that perspective, then she would have that argument to make for herself, not for others. And when the book, and when the culture, and when the traditions say that every man, every woman, every child must confess their own, you can't put the obligation of confessing your own on another. It is your own responsibility. However, it is our duty, brothers and sisters, to come to each other's aid when one's in adversity. It is not your responsibility to carry their cross. This is not the age of carrying any crosses for anyone. This is the age for all men and women, and even the children, because the book says even the children to confess their own. So age don't even matter. If you get the point, you can't even make the excuse that you didn't know. Or now this comes back to consciousness. And so those who are spiritually in tune and harmonic with coming out of the three-dimensional energies and going into higher dimensions or higher planes of life, they will recognize the truth as their own. Those who have not will not and will reject the truth and get angry at those who speak the truth. And if I have told a lie, identify that lie. If you have not identified that lie, you should sit back and stop interrupting with the progress of people who are helping to remedy or to bring remedy in consciousness to the people to reject the schisms that many of you are still operating in.
No, like I said, I totally understand the pain.
The pain does not justify fraud.
Yeah, I understand the pain. You know, I've lost a child who was transitioned.
Hand.
No, it was to their hands.
Don't ever suspect that it wasn't a
right.
Attack.
So I know the pain.
Yes.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, I think I need my sister to redirect her anger, because we all feel it. We all want her baby to be back in her arms, but we all can't necessarily make it happen.
Around the country who have the same issues.
True.
It's not, remember, none of us stand alone with this. There's many people around the country who have the exact same issue. Now, here we go with the issues of nations of the earth coming together and dealing with conventions. So write this down, those of you who are listening. The conventions on genocide, and read it. Also, the rights of indigenous people, and read it and act on it. Meaning that you can show people certain information, certain facts, but if they don't accept them, they have the right not to accept them. But that's still called free willism. Where everything that is done today